Cool. I don't have anything formal planned. I know that a couple outlets had reached out as it related to Mr. Duffy's comments earlier today, and I'd just be glad to address those. If anybody wants to raise the question, I'll answer it. Patrick, you want to start? Why don't we do it that way? We'll start with our friends at 10 today, since I think you were the first to ask me about it.
Sure, Justin, nice to see you. Basically, as far as the skate park is concerned, I mean, obviously we were out there last week. We noticed that a lot of skaters were out there, basically no masks. I wasn't out there today, but one of our photographers was out there. He said that he saw that there was someone sitting behind a bench, no, not a bench, a desk with PPE equipment, and about 70% of the skaters were wearing masks today. So is there enforcement now down at the skate park is the big question.
Oh, well, there's not necessarily enforcement, but what we're doing is doing education and distribution of PPE to skaters. We've been working with the Friends of the Skate Park. We've been working with our dry staff to make that available. Obviously, we can't staff the facility 13 hours a day, every day, but obviously, as it's a new and exciting facility, we know that, our youth are going to come down there. We want to try to provide them every opportunity to do so safely. What I do think, and I want to address when I think is slightly unfortunate, is that the skate parks become an unfair kind of point of emphasis as it relates to COVID. I think that, when you go to any park and throughout the region, whether that's, out at Canandaigua Lake, whether that's out in Webster Park, whether that's out at Greece Town Hall and their facilities, you're going to see large numbers of kids and adults gathering, sometimes wearing masks, sometimes not. And, I think what we would like to know is, whether it's from our regional rep or elsewhere, as we move forward, we hope we don't have to close parks. But, if parks are going to be closed, we'll certainly comply. But I think it's, most important that, we encourage people to wear masks, use PPE. That's what we've been doing at the skate park. Certainly encourage that throughout our region. We're very excited about the success of the skate park and heartened to hear that, more and more people are wearing masks and doing the right thing there, because that has been a point of emphasis for us in city government.
Can I ask one more question, and it'll be a quick one?
Sure.
Basically, when the pandemic started, all the basketball hoops were taken down to prevent people from gathering at the parks. But now, like you said, you have this brand new toy, let's say, to play with, but the toy is kind of creating a problem we're trying to get rid of, if that makes sense.
Well, it does. I mean, I think what we see is that obviously the skate park's popular. Obviously, Cobb's Hill, the basketball courts, the reservoir continue to be popular. Parks and playgrounds, again, throughout our suburbs, throughout our entire region, continue to be popular. And we continue to do the right thing there. I think that what we see is that, hey, we've made a concerted effort as it relates to the park and, at the skate park. And I think it's important to recognize that back in, April and March when things were closed down, that was done at the direction of the regional control rooms of which, Mr. Duffy and others are members of. And that was done at the advice and recommendation of the county and the regional representatives. And, those are the conversations we know continue today. And if things move forward, and we hope they don't, we would be looking for guidance from our, from the regional, the regional representative, if you will, and our county partners as to what was appropriate with not just city parks, but all parks and playgrounds throughout the community.
All righty, thanks.
Okay, with that, hey, Dave, why don't we go to you?
Justin, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Cool. April, how about you?
Actually, I'm good over here. I think, yeah, I'm good over here. I don't have any questions. Sorry.
Okay, very good. Like I said, I thought this would be short. All right, Patti, just because you're my favorite, everybody knows that. I'll go to you.
And I'm going to have a bunch of questions. So I have two. So do you feel that the city facilities are being unfairly targeted?
Well, I think as it relates to the skate park, and I get it because it recently opened and there's a lot of media attention that certainly it's received its disproportional share of attention. I get that it's brand new, but I think what can't be overlooked is that when we look at these problems as it relates to the spread of COVID, the COVID spread has been, let's just say, much more geographically diverse in recent days and weeks than it's been elsewhere. And it's been, to be plain, a lot wider in terms of the proportions. And that's reported through the county's own data. And I think what we should be doing is saying, hey, let's not just look at the skate park, but let's look at parks and playgrounds throughout our entire community. Let's look at private gatherings everywhere, throughout our region, and not single out one resource just because it's convenient.
So which leads to the second question is that Adam Bello and Mike Mendoza have been asked repeatedly about enforcement of masks and enforcement of social distancing. And each time they have responded with, well, we want education, we don't want enforcement. At some point, though, is someone going to have to call for some sort of enforcement? And I made the analogy the other day of, it's like click it or ticket. Something that is going to try to drive the message home, because it seems clear from listening to Bello and Mendoza, people are not listening anymore to just wear a mask and 6 feet of separation.
Well, I think to your exact point, I mean, that's why at the skate park, since it's been an area of emphasis, we've been out there with our staff, kind of doing enforcement, saying, hey, we don't want you to come in without a mask, providing masks, bringing a DJ out there to encourage this, social distancing, mask wearing, making those announcements. We're making an effort in that regard as it relates to that location. The question I would have is, what other, municipalities and, throughout our region are doing similar things as it relates to, their hotspots. I'm not aware of those other, municipalities making those efforts. I think, again, we're not going to enforce our way out of this, but, I think we can be proactive in terms of mass distribution. The city has distributed over 140,000 masks, to our local businesses. I think you're aware of that. We did that a couple Fridays back. So, we're saying, hey, let's get masks out there. Let's talk to people when they're at hotspots like, like the skate park's alleged to be, and, and make sure that we're, encouraging people to do the right thing. So I think it's not necessarily a matter of enforcement, but it's proactive encouragement.
Is that a euphemism?
It's not a euphemism. No, I'm very good, Patti. I appreciate it. All right, who's next? All right, Tyler, do you want to go?
Sure. So my first question is, on Patti's point about enforcement, people already, as you already know, cases are continuing to go up. People already don't seem to be following the guidelines, not just at the skate park, but we also know there's been large parties going on across the city. How is the city going to approach this as the cold weather starts coming along and, these cases continue to keep going up? Will there be anything additional the city is doing to crack down on the gatherings?
Well, Tyler, I think you even heard from Mr. Duffy today that basically he wasn't actively encouraging, confrontation to, the demand mask wearing before entering a business or what have you, and basically, what we've done. And again, I think, you mentioned the city, but I think when you say, throughout our entire region, throughout the county, through every suburb, we've seen people, do the right thing in large part and see people do the wrong thing. And I think what we have to do is collectively as a community, continue to do our best. And as it relates to the city, we are part of this region. We have followed the direction of the regional, representative in the county who, we don't have a health department, the city, the county health department for direction. And we're going to continue to follow their direction and their lead on this because we have to have a community-wide and a region-wide approach to defeating COVID.
And another question I wanted to ask is, obviously, do you believe, first of all, that the city can do more in terms of enforcement? More than what the county is asking?
Well, I think what we take direction from, from the regional, rep and the regional process and from the county. And right now, we're a yellow zone. We're hopefully not going to become an orange zone. And there are consequences, and I think that's where the enforcement comes in, right? If we don't do the right thing in terms of mask wearing, social distancing, limiting our trips, and, doing all the things that, quite frankly, we all know to do right now, that, and if we're going to do the right thing and not buy into, any kind of political nonsense, you're going to do the right thing, wear a mask, socially distant, limit your trips. If we don't do those things, that's when we potentially go to an orange zone. And, that means school closures, according to the state's map. That means, the end of dining at restaurants, right? We're back to a takeout only mode. It means limiting drastically the number of people who can participate in, in church, ceremonies. as well as the, further decreasing the size of gatherings, amongst, even family members. So, there is enforcement mechanism in place. It's going from yellow to orange and seeing those other things get locked down because we have not done the right thing. All right, Tyler, thanks. So let's see, who hasn't gotten a chance yet? Is there anybody from Channel 10 who wants to ask a question? Seeing none. All right, Jack, from Channel 8, or no, Patrick, you already asked. I'm sorry. Geez, I was my error. My apologies.
Not a problem.
Jack, I'm sorry. I think last but not least, right, in terms of questions, if you have anything for me?
No worries, Justin. What I had prepared was along the lines of what Tyler had asked. So
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. Going once, going twice. Anybody got anything else?
I do want to ask one more thing. Sorry.
Sure, Tyler. Just because you're a video game fan, definitely. Well, I'm gonna. Well, maybe the new Call of Duty comes out. I'll see if you're back in the shooters. But go ahead.
And I'll be sure to ask you more questions then. I do want to ask, about the emergency order that the mayor keeps extending. What's the point of it still being extended if there doesn't seem to be any teeth to it and people don't seem to be listening and people are still gathering and having late night parties?
Well, I think the premise of the question is incorrect. I do think it's had an impact. It's lessened the number of parties. It's also provided law enforcement the opportunity to, break up those parties before things occur. Now, of course, is the level of violence that we've seen in our community acceptable? No, the mayor has already said that. We're in the process, obviously, Chief Harriet Sullivan with the gun violence reduction plan. And, the trend line is still not where we want it to be. So, but we need to keep these tools in place. Again, it's similar to mask wearing and the numerous other things we need to be doing properly to, get us through this difficult time. I mean, violence, as you know, is not just up in the city of Rochester. Violence is up, certainly all through all the upstate New York cities and beyond that nationwide. So, again, we need to be diligent to do the right thing from our perspective as it relates to law enforcement, and the community needs to continue to do the right thing as well.
Hey, Justin, can I ask a question to follow up on that? Just out of curiosity, I don't know the answer to this. Is there funding attached to having an emergency order in place, like coronavirus funding?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know if you obtain additional funds by having an executive order in place. That's something I'd have to.
Yeah, I shouldn't say additional funds, but I mean, the funding comes in insofar as there's an emergency in a municipality.
I know typically, right, when there's a state of emergency as it relates to a national disaster, like that's a prerequisite and you track your funding for reimbursement. And I don't believe that and again, I'd have to confirm this. I don't believe the local executive order is required for us to track that and receive federal reimbursement. I believe this governor's executive order is sufficient for that, but I can follow up on that separate from this.
Sure. I mean, I was just sort of curious, wanted to dovetail on that question. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, last chance.
I sort of do. I'm just
Sure.
trying to, sorry, y'all.
It's okay.
As far as the skate park is concerned,
Yep.
I mean, I've been by there, rode by there on my bike, and I've seen a lot of people there. And obviously, the past couple of days, it's been really nice weather and unseasonably warm.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be, I mean, if it continues to be like the way it is, where a lot of people are going, will the city put restrictions about as far as how many people can visit the skate park at a time?
No, I mean, we're not planning on putting restrictions on that. I mean, April, that ties into, again, the regional representative and kind of the orders that have come down from the state as it relates to the regions, right? If they were to all of a sudden say, hey, parks are subject to, restrictions in terms of number of attendees and what have you, which was the case, back in March and April, we comply with that. I mean, what we've been doing, again, is, having our staff out there to encourage wearing masks, distributing masks, putting up the appropriate signage. And, and we've seen compliance. I think it was mentioned today, about 70% of the people out there were wearing masks, which, I think is an improvement over the initial days. And, and I think we're just going to continue to do that. And, credit to the Friends of the Skate Park and others who have assisted in that, because, you know, that's how we get through this is that, you know, kind of encouragement in putting resources to it to encourage people to do the right thing. And again, you know, I mean, the shame of the skate park is that we know that, you know, the behavior that, you know, there's been some pearl clutching about, if you will, at the skate park is happening, you know, in suburban playgrounds, is happening, you know, at marinas. You know, I just saw that the county put out, hey, there's free golf for veterans tomorrow at golf courses. You know, there's way more than 25 people in these locations. You know, and not saying that any of those things are bad, but I'm saying that everybody's got to do the right thing everywhere and not simply fixate on, you know, something that happens to be in our city because it's convenient, I think, to do so. Alrighty, guys, I should get back to the other income generating portions of my day. I appreciate it. If anybody has a follow-up, you know, just email me. You know, I'll probably ignore you, but give it a shot. All right. I'll talk to you all later.
Thanks, Justin.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Yep.
Bye.